This is Rob Tubber for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by Eddie Hearn. We're at the unveiling of a new... Unveiling? Yeah. Unveiling. It's been a long week.
Is that how you say it? Unveiling.
Is it not the correct way?
Unveiling, isn't it?
Unveiling. I think I'm picking up an American accent.
Yeah, you probably are, yeah.
It's been a long week. You've signed Joseph Parker already?
Yes, we have. Delighted to. Long been a fan, actually. I mean, even before he boxed AJ, when we first started working with David Higgins, I was like, this guy is absolutely nuts. I mean, they were doing press conferences in their office in New Zealand and it was hilarious. But when I got to know him, I sort of realised actually this guy's very intellectually smart. He has Joseph's best interests at heart. I like him. I think he's a funny bastard. And then when his contract was up, he wanted to take the role, and Joe wanted him to take the role of sort of manager, advisor, if you like. And he went out, he spoke to everybody, and he had a lot of offers, and thankfully he chose us, and I'm excited. At 27 years old, I feel like he has a big future in the division. I think he's still learning as a heavyweight. And when you look at his resume already, I mean, he's boxed Takam, Ruiz, Joshua, Whyte. Great fight with Dillian Whyte. I think he underestimated Dillian Whyte. You know, they took that fight off the back of the Joshua fight, and I think at the time probably people didn't realise how good Dillian Whyte was, but also he just presumed and believed he could win that fight, and had come back with a win, and now going to be boxing June 29 in Providence on the Andrade card, and then moving into the big fights at the end of the year. And I said in that press conference, although we're not getting Joshua Wilder at the moment, for the first time we have so much depth. I mean, look at the fighters that Matchroom are working with on the zone. Heavyweights: Joshua, Usyk, Whyte, Parker, Povetkin, Gassiev, Hrgovic, Chisora, Hunter. Probably missed some out as well, but there's like 10, 11, 12 world-class heavyweights that are probably all in the sort of top 12. Chisora, even Dave Allen, all these guys that are capable of having these big fights. And I think we have to keep making those fights because they're great fights. And although a lot of guys are saying, I just want to get a win or two and then be in the position, I think people are starting to realise now that the World Championship fight's not there. You've got Wilder there, and you've got Dillian Whyte will be mandatory to Wilder. Then you've got Joshua, who's got Usyk and Pulev as the mandatories. So if you're all those guys I've mentioned, you're not going to be able to tread water till they're ready to fight you. So you might as well gamble, and we don't mind paying you good money to gamble because they're the fights that we want to see. Joseph's already shown us he will get in with anybody. He's fought 2 of the best in the world already, or 4 of the best in the world already. He'll fight on June 29. I saw it was reported it was Eric Molina. It probably will be. It's not done yet. And then after that, I'm looking to put him in with all those guys that I mentioned. And I think he's got a lot of big fights ahead of him. He's got a lot of time ahead of him as well.
You mentioned that. I mean, the top of the division is what it is when it comes to the kind of political minefield that it is. But you mentioned that kind of second tier of heavyweights and the prospects coming up. Are we going to be seeing those guys facing each other sooner rather than later?
I think they have to be. They have to be. Some people, deserve the right to. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to walk through Eric Molina, but he should look good, and I believe he beats Eric Molina. Guys like Gassiev, who have just making the transition to heavyweight, probably deserve a fight before they jump in with these kind of guys. But other guys are ready to go. Hunter. Hrgovic is ready to fight anyone. Usyk's going to fight Takam, or was due to fight Takam, so shows you his seriousness. Chisora, we know he fights anyone. Dillian Whyte, he fights anyone that you want. So I don't see why we can't get them mixed in and fighting each other, because that's really the reason that we're developing all this talent. And if we don't put them in with each other, where are we going to put them? We've got 12 or 13 heavyweights there. We can't just give them other fights outside of each other. So the plan is develop them properly and make sure they're ready for those fights, but when they are, put them in, give them a big payday, and give everybody a great fight.
I saw Kalla and Nissa's account today. They kind of, I don't know whether it's tongue-in-cheek, they kind of pointed towards a heavyweight super series. You could kind of do an in-house one at Matchroom, couldn't you?
Well, that's the plan, really. I mean, unfortunately, because I would love to see a heavyweight super series, it's not going to happen because it's just the money's out of control. But there's no reason why we can't do some kind of in-house tournament at Matchroom with the Zone and Sky Sports for all these heavyweights that aren't on the verge of a shot. And right now, probably 9 of the 10 that I mentioned, or 9 of the 11 that I mentioned, aren't in line for a shot. So there's no reason why they shouldn't fight each other. And we know, because we've dealt with them, that they're the guys that are prepared to gamble. Hunter, Joseph, Povetkin, Gassiev, You know, all these guys, Hrgovic, they're up for these fights. And, you know, I think once we get the summer out of the way for people like Gassiev and Joseph, that's when you're going to see them all fighting each other towards the end of the year.
I spoke to Joseph before we come to the press conference today. He said that the Dillian Whyte rematch is pretty high on his list of priorities. Is that likely to happen? I mean, Dillian's obviously in such a state of limbo. He's kind of on the cusp of the WBC.
That limbo is slowly, you know, that cloud is becoming a lot more clear. I think in the next few days we'll be able to announce exactly the path for Dillian Whyte. I think when you lose to someone, you always want to rematch them, especially when he might have been 20 or 30 seconds away from beating Dillian Whyte in that fight. So he'll be kicking himself. But also Dillian's improved a lot since then. And by the way, Whyte against Parker is a great fight. So they're not fights we're against. Dillian's plan is to fight for the world heavyweight title. He's going to be on the verge of that very soon. He has to beat Oscar Rivas. I mean, that's the main focus, really. But beyond that, he'll be made mandatory for the WBC. But a fight with Joseph, you know, if those guys keep winning, they're inevitable fights. And if Joseph keeps winning, he will get another shot at the world heavyweight title. But at 27, I mean, Joshua's renowned really as a young heavyweight. He's 29. You know, Joe's 2 years younger than him. So, and it's interesting to hear Kevin Barry's talking about the mindset and the focus and the dedication of this camp. He comes back, he's on fighting weight. So if he's dedicated and he's learned, you know, he didn't really get hurt in the fights with AJ and Dillian Whyte. He got dropped once legitimately from Dillian, a huge left hook. But we know he's got a good chin. He hasn't really got a lot of miles on the clock. He's very talented, and we're very pleased to get him on the team.
Okay, and just finally, because there's a queue of people behind me, you mentioned his name here, Alexander Usyk. I believe he's going to the BWAA.
He's coming to the weigh-in, yeah, as well.
To the weigh-in, but he's going. I think he's collecting the Sugar Ray Robinson Award for Fighter of the Year. Just what does that mean to represent somebody who's picking up awards like that, and also when can we expect him to return to the ring? Obviously, the Takam fight was rescheduled due to a bicep injury.
I have a meeting with Alex Krasuk and Igis Klimas after this, actually, and we'll be looking to reschedule his fight. I think realistically September for him. We'd still like to do the Takam fight. That's got to be rearranged and see if Carlos wants to do that fight again. You know, and also you've got the situation WBO mandatory. So does he have to go straight into an AJ fight? I don't know. I mean, ideally, like I said, with Gassiev and him, you'd like to give him one fight at heavyweight first. I think that's fair. But he won't want to let go of a mandatory position at the same time. So his return date will be announced soon. And, you know, although I haven't been involved in his career or outside of the Bellew fight, it is great to be there at these kind of awards with our guy. You know, nice one, Alex. Yeah, score, my son.
Not like you to take the credit for other people.
No. Oh, the Writers Award, that must be down to me. That's all down to me. Well done. So, yeah, he's a great fighter and a good character as well. And again, I just feel that I know everyone wants all of this now heavyweights, but honestly, I see such a great future for the division as long as people fight each other. But they will, because the money's there and the challenges are there to these people. And you know, I think even in that tier just below the world champs, you're going to see some brilliant fights.
Okay, well, Eddie Hearn, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
No problem. Cheers.